lot more
Ew.
stuff.
This thing does not work well with headset on. I like your wall there, Recklin.
What?
I like your wall. I'm starting one myself.
Fiona made me. Of course, this is my garage, but
Out of reach. But no, I have a longer cord now. Woohoo! Got me a mess. Can't get over the fact that I lost that button. Go with Rain Cloud. Works for me.
Sloan's
Recklin.
fine.
Good with Recklin.
How's my mic level? Is it okay? Okay. I have all these knobs over here. I'm still making sure that my mic didn't get moved. I do. I have this whole board of stuff that I don't know how to use. Oh, we're
Oh
coming
boy.
through the stream.
Oh,
That's
he
what's
is.
yeah.
Hello and welcome to the GCW podcast, a live podcast covering all things related to the Galactic Civil War LARP event, a sci-fi airsoft event set in a galaxy far, far away. I'm your host with the most, Husky, and I'm all up in your kitchen drinking your blue milk. For tonight's broadcast covering roleplay and living in the universe, I am joined by three different hosts. The first being the intergalactic man of
Hey, we lose
mystery
him?
currently stranded on a deserted island, Recklin.
Hey, I'm Recklin. Good to hear you, folks.
Next up, joining me for the fourth time now, is someone who is pretty much a co host, Raincloud.
Hello.
And rounding out this roster is my special guest, my goodest boy, everyone's favorite, Alcoholics Anonymous member.
Hey, hang on a minute.
Say hello to Sloan.
Hello, everyone.
Do you want to have a say in what topics we cover and the guests we have? Do you want to join the Discord audience to listen in on our pre and post show banter? Do you want the opportunity to be part of the conversation and have your voice be heard? Then please head on over to the Galactic Civil War Patreon page where you can get all those perks and more. That is patreon.com/Galactic Civil War. Without further delay, let's hear a little from our guest and their backgrounds. So, gentlemen, great to have the three of you, some of you returning. Sloan, this is not your first appearance. You've been with us before, albeit as a little voice in the crowd, so it's nice to have you here. So guys, why don't you tell me your background, what you guys have done, your experience with roleplay and reenactment, and all things there within.
So I have been airsofting since I was 13. I was one of those very annoying little airsofters that everyone strongly dislikes. I'll fully admit that. When I turned 18, I got a job at a little farm up in the mountains called Riley's Farm in Oak Glen, California, where I was basically unknowingly thrust into full-time paid reenacting. Uh,
Okay.
and that's also where I had I knew Recklin there for a very brief amount of time. I believe you started there about the time I left, and then we ran into each other through pure coincidence at GCW.
Wow. Small
So
world.
that's where I'm coming from.
That's amazing. Recklin?
So, yeah, my name is Recklin, or at least as far as you're concerned, my name is Recklin. I've been in living history and reenacting for a number of years since I was 15. My main focus is American Civil War. My main impression is usually Union soldier. I've been in a number of different units over the course of time and progressing from more just simply focus on battle and the show into more living history and looking at what does it look like to live like this on a daily basis for a weekend. And so rather than just be kind of a war junkie, it's become much more of a deep understanding for the daily life of people, not just soldiers during different time periods. Uh, Through my time with the American Civil War, I became acquainted with other people who wanted to do World War II reenacting. So from there, I had a brief stint with a World War II group that did French Foreign Legion, of all things.
Oh.
And from there, I got mixed in with some other fellas who did Aussie. So I'm kind of a little bit all over the map as far as that go. Um, at some point, I started getting more involved in history, and so that's actually what my profession is on a daily basis. In between jobs, I ended up coming back to my home state of California, where I worked at Riley's Farm in Oakland, California. It's where I met Sloan, although I didn't know him at Sloan at the time. And so I eventually get back into it and started my career more earnestly on a more permanent basis. And then about I think it's three to 4 years ago, as kind of a post-COVID sort of a thing, I started getting into costuming, and from there I got into the galaxy far, far away, and heard about this series just shortly after I finished my first costume, and from there it became an airsoft thing. And I have zero background in airsoft. I had two springers, and I sold one, and the other one broke before the event started. So I actually went to the event with no working blaster. It was actually a Nerf with a barrel. It's something I LARPed. I had not LARPed before, but it's basically the same thing as living history. It's just a different set of rules.
Hmm.
So that just gives you a very quick but very thorough background
Yeah,
on me. I'm
very
going to
cool.
hand it over to my friend Raincloud.
So I'll start with the airsoft. I did airsoft about the same way Sloan did airsoft, just in the backyard as a little kid, and then we're like my experience with the spring guns. We all had like the little spring pistols, and then one day somebody had a AEG. One of my other friends like that looks really cool. Let's do that, and then I started doing Milsim stuff after that. Uh, but I actually have spent more time doing reenactings than I have airsoft. I started doing reenactings when I was a little kid. There was a local site, a local historical site not far from where I used to live, that had a battle there, and so they would do reenactments every 3 years. And we just got back from Europe. I don't remember how old I was. I was tiny. I didn't go over the gun at all, but I was a monkey bearer for one of the artillery pieces, which kind of got me into this historical side of things. And then I was a flag bearer 3 years later, and then I quit. I then became part of the brigade that we had out here, where I did cavalry and stuff for the Civil War era. Then I also did a stint where we would do a living history site, Shoal Creek, out in Kansas City, where they did 1800s living history. There was a town built up, water mill, blacksmith shop, those types of things in an old town set up. So we would do living history out there in the 1800s about once a month. And about the same time I started doing that, I also got into World War II reenacting, where I do First Canadian Parachute Battalion, part of the 6th British Airborne. And that's what I'm wearing here. And so I've been in both of those communities as long, if not longer, than I've been doing airsoft, which has brought a different reenacting before I officially started airsoft. When it comes to LARPing, I had done a tiny bit in airsoft because I had started wearing things like wizarding robes at events in the past for fun. I was the black mage for a little while because I wasn't a healer, so I couldn't be the white mage, and did some fun stuff like that. Thought that was a lot of fun. Did Jack Sparrow cosplay at one point. Started doing a few things, and then like the Star Wars thing started happening. It was like this is where I want to be. And then I bugged Chris enough to let me be part of GCW, and then here I am, stuck.
You might be a pretty decently sized part of GCW now.
I may be stuck.
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
Pleasantly stuck.
Yeah. We are all trapped here, but we don't want to leave.
Yes.
So,
we chose to be trapped.
exactly.
But that's a quick little thing of me.
Well, thank you, all three of you, for that extensive history. I'll answer my own question very briefly because I have the shortest answer because I had the least experience. I was an avid airsofter pretty much since I was 10 years old. Went from playing in the backyard to playing at local fields to traveling to various milsims internationally. And it wasn't till, I should say, right before GCW started that I started to kind of want something more. And I had always desired to attend one of those LARPs, those reenactments, but never really had the means to. So when I saw GCW pop up, it seemed like a very easy entry point because I already had tons of airsoft stuff, and putting a Rebel kit together didn't seem too difficult. And at that first event came, I was hooked. And from then on, I have gotten involved in GCW and I'm looking forward to every event every year and always
Did we
trying
lose
to
him?
do more.
Okay, he's still there.
Oh, did we lose me? Did I get lost?
We all
moment
lost you for a second.
Yeah, there's been some issues with the connection. I'm not sure what's going on. It seems to drop for a couple seconds, but since I'm the one streaming, it's getting my audio directly, so they're going to hear me uncut.
They're gonna hear you
Yeah,
neither
yeah.
either way. Well, that works.
And as for like
I might
reenactment,
have the solution to the problem here. Oh, Betty, get off the Wi-Fi.
it's that's the problem. I have this bad Tennessee Wi-Fi, so let me see if Gabby is streaming
I also want
anything
to put out,
currently.
Husky, that we discovered that you and I had possibly met
Yes, we
years
did
ago
at Broken Home
Broken Home.
10.
I'm pretty sure once you sent me that picture, I'm pretty sure we shook hands.
So yeah, this is a fun story. One of my first milsims was an American milsim event called Broken Home 10. I went there with some local friends, didn't really have any sort of larger input in the community. While there, I see a guy sitting in a lawn chair on top of a car, and I think that's funny, and I take a picture of it. Years later, I would attend GCW, I would meet lots of people, I'd meet Raincloud, and here recently we were talking in a Discord server about various milsims, and you mentioned you were also at Broken Home 10. Come to find out, you were the guy in a lawn chair in a car that I still have that picture of. Years before I ever met you, I took a photo
You had
of
that
you.
picture within minutes. You had that picture like within a minute or two.
I can pull it up now if I really wanted, but I'd be awkwardly like showing it on my camera. So, but yeah,
It's
so that's
funny how we meet back up in the future.
man, isn't that right? Seems like each of us have like inadvertently crossed paths at some point and not really known it. But that's about the extent of my experience. I probably have some role play experience, albeit let me admit something very nerdy. It was all online role play back in the days of like Tumblr and chat rooms, role playing various
We've
red.
all been there, buddy.
Yeah,
No shame.
my bag was red versus blue. I role played Captain Flowers, who dies in the second episode, and that's where I got the name Flowers from. And that's still my Discord username to this day. But yeah, that's about it for me. I wish I had taken notes during your guys' answers because there's a million things I want to ask questions on. But you know, I guess we'll jump into the big topic because Recklin actually kind of touched on it in his answer when he mentions he didn't even bring a blaster to the first event. And I think that's something that as an event we really want to start showing a different side of. We want to show that you can show up without a blaster. This is not a airsoft milsim. This is not a combat only event. So, you know, I really want to get into that topic of maybe you're someone that just has a lot of Star Warsy props and you just want to live in that universe for 3 days, you know, almost like a living history deal. You know, how would someone really go about that? And I know you guys have the experience of actually doing those things. So, you know, what are your guys' thoughts?
If you don't mind, if I could jump in on it, since you
Please.
kind of hinted to me.
Yeah.
But
please.
yeah, so I mean, this was also very early in the GCW at the first event in October 22,
Mhm.
Survivor's
Yep.
Endeavor, and I think it was kind of a dress rehearsal. I mean, it was obviously live, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of us didn't quite know what we were doing, so a lot of things just kind of happened to happen and let slide because we didn't know any better, didn't think to anticipate it. So I went essentially without a functioning blaster. It was a Nerf of an EC-17 with an airsoft barrel that was inserted into it and electrical taped, and so I would have to muzzle load a BB and hope it shot. And you know, my shop, the shop that I run for GCW, the blaster shop, you know, would constantly come under fire, and so you'd hear it bouncing off the walls. And so me and this other fellow, Lena Tan, would take cover, and I would like muzzle load my one BB and shoot, and I don't know where it would go. So it was like, you know, sitting there with my back against the wall, I realized maybe I should probably have a better functioning blaster. But the reality is that I think many other people who have been out there who are probably shaking their heads is that you don't necessarily need a blaster. I mean, yeah, there's going to be firefights and crossfire, but you don't necessarily need one.
Mhm.
So
Definitely. You know, that's kind of what we're wanting to talk about is
Mhm.
because having come off the end of Rebel ScumCon, one thing that we heard about from a lot of people was that they just They don't want to, they're not interested in the airsoft. They're not interested in the combat. What they're interested in is just being someone in the Star Wars universe. Now, I've never done something like that. Hence why I have all of you here to kind of give the advice and give the tips on what that's like. Because I'm imagining someone has a small campsite of Star Wars props and they want to come to the event and maybe take over one of the buildings or one of the connexes as like their house or their building and just set out their props, set out their stuff, wear their fun clothes, and exist as that person. So, you guys having done that kind of stuff, what advice would you have for that person?
I would say it absolutely can and absolutely should be done. My first event was Battlefront Rhaegor, and the way I found out about it is I follow 878's page on Instagram, and I was looking through their events, and I was showing my coworker like, "Hey, look, they got a Star Wars event coming up." And we're like, "Oh, a Star Wars event? Yeah, like a bunch of nerds." And then I showed it to my sister Kendall, and she was like, "Oh yeah, that sounds kind of cool." She goes, "What if I went as a Gonk droid?" I was like, no, I need to make this happen now. I need to see this. So we threw together her Gonk droid costume, which obviously has no offensive capabilities. She can't even make mean gestures at people. She's got no arms. And I kind of threw my kit together last minute. I had a pump shotgun that I was like, I can make that look kind of Star Warsy and maybe get by with that. And a few weeks before the event, I went to go get it out of storage, loaded it up, could not get the thing to work. It was leaking gas everywhere. Didn't have time to get the parts I needed. So I just had a hater. But honestly, I could have gone the entire day without it and it wouldn't have made that much of a difference. Um, and the reason it wouldn't have made a difference is because I integrated that into my character. Okay, I have no combat capabilities whatsoever. I'm just wearing the black coveralls and the hat and you all making faces. What was that about?
I watched the poster come off of Recklin's back wall.
I was like, I didn't say something naughty, did I? I thought I was being pretty good.
You're doing fine.
Anyway, I just integrated into my character and I said, you know what? I'm going to be a droid technician. And I fired that blaster maybe 5 times throughout the day.
Which is
And
hilarious
I
when
don't
that
think
was
I
a
hit
Battlefront
anything.
event, which is a combat-focused
Yeah.
event. So,
Yeah, that was a combat-focused event, and I hardly ever needed that thing. I could have gone the entire day just running around, like scanning the skirmish chips. And if I was running a shop or playing an NPC, I would have had even less use for that thing. So it is entirely possible to play one of these events. In fact, it's easy to play one of these events without needing to carry an airsoft gun. My mother, Kristara, you all got to see her at Echo's Resolve.
Yep.
Did not carry a blaster, just went around role playing the entire time. She never even got shot. So it's very possible. But I will say that that is largely because you incorporate the fact that you're not going to be doing much fighting into your character. If you're going around dressed as a super commando without a blaster, you're probably going to have a bad time.
Very true. Real quick.
Or an HK.
Yeah,
Or an
probably.
HK, yes.
Or a really good time, depending.
Ow.
I think Raycloud says no. We're not leaking who wears the armor, but Raycloud is very confident in his answer of no. It is not.
Not being able to shoot back when the entire town is actively engaging you is not the best experience.
We gotta figure
Hey, you
out.
put the good thump on that one Jawa, though. That was impressive.
Oh yeah.
But real quick, I want to interject and touch on something you brought up, which is the NPC label. So this is something we discussed at length in the admin chat. Was when this topic first came up, the answer was, well, they can just be NPCs. And having been there on the floor at the convention talking to people, a lot of them have a association with that term NPC, that it means that they are going to be tasked with supporting the event in some way, or that they are a step below a player. They aren't a player of the event, they are someone there facilitating the event for other players. So Raincloud, seeing as you're one of our NPC masters, you're the guy leading them, what would your response to that be? What would you say?
It's not incorrect, but it was not fully correct.
Mm-hmm.
Because as an NPC at our events, yes, you're helping facilitate the story, and your people are going to come to you for quests and stuff. At the same time, we very much allow you to play a character and do your own story as well. We never tell our NPCs that they can't go do a story or something. The only thing I ask is just let me know what you're doing beforehand, and so we can help you do that. NPCs get a little bit of extra help with doing their stories because they're with the rest of us, and we can turn that story into something that the players can interact with as well, if that makes sense.
Right. So if I were to go and say, I'm a new player, hey, I was pointed in your direction. I don't want to
That's
fight.
for me.
I want to be
We
a.
lost him again.
Yeah, we lost you.
Oh, man, this is tough.
Take two.
Take two. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. So if I were to come to you and say, hey, I was pointed in your direction to be an NPC, I don't really want to be an NPC. I just want to show up without a blaster, and I just want to kind of establish myself in a little camp or in a building. Um, and I just want to exist as my civilian character who is a scavenger or a shipbreaker or a money launderer. I don't know, some Star Warsy job, and I just want to be here for the weekend and do that. Would you have a place for me?
Yeah. I normally ask people right off the bat is if you want to be a player, this is the always the thing that I always let people know beforehand. Players, if you come, you get to keep credits and stuff, but you also have to spend credits to do things, and so you have to play the money game. If you're unaffiliated, you have to pay for your respawns and stuff. If you come as an NPC, your ticket price is much lower, but you don't get to keep your credits. That's the first thing I always start off with the conversation to make sure everyone's aware that that's the trade-off to that. Then I tell them if you come as an NPC, if you just want to go sit in that building and do that, we encourage that. In fact, I will give you things that will allow you to have more story and stuff because we'll say, hey, this person is going to have this prop. And so if they come as a scavenger, which is a very common thing, people's like, oh, let's go be a scavenger because it's common in Star Wars. I'll say, here are some starship parts. And this is specifically what they are for. Some players will probably come to you at some point during the event and want these. And that is a start for their. We've had several people in the past who have started there, realized that was a lot of fun, and have come back for more. And other people find that not as much fun, and end up wanting to go pick up a blaster and go shoot things instead. Which everybody has their own play style that they have to figure out, especially at GCW because it's unique.
So yeah, Recklin, I want to bounce off of that and get to you. He mentioned, earning credits. I know a lot of our economy is kind of built around upgrades and more combat-oriented things, but you run a clothing shop. So you're what I consider a very vital part of the economy, and that you are a part of the economy every player can engage with. So what would you say that experience like as a combat or as a shopkeeper who's not just here facilitating character upgrades and combat, but rather adding another level to the universe and making it feel more like a real town?
That's a great question. There's a lot of things that I can go on that, so I'm going to do my best to try
Please,
to answer
please.
that. But yeah, it's kind of getting back to the original question. Is that you can come as a person and just be a Star War and be and do whatever it is and be there and do that. What I would caution the people who are considering that is that sounds like fun for the morning, and then towards the afternoon it starts to get a little boring. So you start to look for things to do. So, and that's one of the reasons why Raincloud and myself try to steer people who just want to show up and be a Star Wars to think a little bit more about your character and what interests you, and then start to flesh out that character, and then talk to Raincloud, talk to me about doing something that interacts with the larger story. And so now to your specific question, that kind of came out of my general shop has come out of that because initially the blaster shop has a high margin. You have to get a couple thousand credits in order to purchase credits. So especially in the early days when people were making very little or awful lot of credits, it took a long time before they would actually get anything off the shelves. So up until that point, maybe my first sale, especially in the first couple events, might be until like middle of the afternoon. So until then, I'm answering a lot of questions, but I'm not really doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started looking at thrift stores and saying, this is kind of
Oh, I think we've got some connection issues.
Star Wars Living History blog.
Mm-hmm.
Retake two.
Give me 1 second.
I think from what I've been noticing, when you lag on our end, we all lag on the stream end, is what it looks like to me.
Oh, okay. I'm still figuring. If only my producer was here. This question's. I think we're good now. If you want to continue off where you were.
Okay. So from the Star Wars Living History blog, just
Mhm.
looking at getting that aesthetic and saying, okay, so here are things that I can do for cheap from thrift stores that I can provide for players because not everyone shows up uh, dressed to the nines. Sometimes they're still kind of in like BDUs, single color BDUs, but maybe they want something that's a little bit more in universe. And so I've been gearing a lot of my shop to make it so that it's got a pretty easy barrier to being able to purchase a shirt, a vest, a pair of trousers, or maybe some other things to help kind of round out that impression. So if you're looking to try to come to the event and not get involved from a shooting point of view, factionally, consider how you could contribute to the community at large and how you can explore your character a little bit more, or maybe you can say, well, if I need to build into my character something that is essential to this community, like I have some background. I want to create a character that has hyperdrive mechanic, and so maybe there's something that we can work at that from a story point of view where somebody needs to find a hyperdrive mechanic, and so we can get tools and you can work on it or and fix it something. So
Right.
it's a lots of there's lots of things to be able to do without getting involved in the story, but it makes the story much more involved because we not just don't want to sit in our chairs and watch them sling BBs at each other, but we also I think it's important that we get involved in the story, the larger story in some
Mhm.
way without even having to get involved by getting involved in a faction or getting a blaster involved. So it's very doable. I think it's just you have to be a little bit more creative. Same way that the unaffiliated have to be more creative in how they go about with their collecting uh, credits.
Right. And now I wanted to ask something you mentioned earlier was that it can get kind of boring by the midday. So, how does living history play into that? And that that's something y'all are doing for, I would assume, like hours at a time.
Oh yeah.
So how does that keep from getting dull after like the first hour?
Pure immersion. Um, when you get immersed into a character and immersed into a world, being bored just transfers to being bored in character, and you find ways in character to entertain yourself.
Right.
I didn't do a lot of long haul reenactments at Riley's. It was mostly just like an 8-hour workday, basically. But we did do a couple of events, Revolutionary War reenactments at Huntington Beach that were like 2-3 days continuous. And when I got bored in character, I found a way to entertain myself in character. I'm gonna go harass these colonists over here that look especially dirty and easy to bully. I'm going to go have a smoke on my pipe, which we can't do at GCW, obviously, but or I'd go to my commanding officer and be like, hey, where do you want me to stand and look cool at? He'd be like, go stand guard over there. They're doing a trial, so go guard the trial, or whatever. Um, you find natural solutions to these problems when you get immersed into a character and into a world. You just find in character ways to entertain yourself essentially, and that's a little bit more difficult when you have a shop that you need to run or a place where you need to be. But there are always solutions to that. Maybe heckle somebody who's passing by and become the really pushy salesman and start shoving things in their face. Hey, you buy this, you want to buy this, and you can definitely find ways to have fun with it in character. Just channel that boredom into your character.
Right. Now, I think we
Yeah.
would be doing a great disservice if we didn't mention that we do have a casino, put on by Ronan the Carillion. So,
Yeah, it's always
Yeah.
mid-sentence.
Rewind. We lost
Take two.
mid-sentence.
oh
again,
my
guys.
goodness. All right.
Take two.
We,
Take
we
two.
would be doing a great disservice if we did not mention that we have a casino put on by Ronan the Carillion. So, GCW has these things that aren't just combat, and one thing I want to see us do is invest more in stuff like casinos or the cantina. Kind of take these non-combat actions and put more emphasis on that. Maybe we can set up different like random tech boxes around town that you have to go do maintenance on to put more stuff out there to entertain yourself with. So, the casino is always a great place to entertain yourself. And I think Recklin,
Right.
you had something you wanted to say. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a good thing is just being a little bit involved in the lore and saying, what do the people in the background do?
Yeah.
Sometimes if you're just kind of bored, just pick up a box and walk around doing figure eights in the town. Get your steps in, or make a friend, or if you have friends, get with them and say, hey, let's do let's have a fight. Like, hey, you owe me money, and we'll get people involved in it. And, hey, you can't. Hey, I need help. Can you be my muscle? And or bring other people in on it, and they'll jump in on it because people love getting involved in all that sorts of stuff.
Recklin, you've
Mhm.
given me some great
But
ideas already.
See, that is the benefit to having the being an NPC is we already have that group, and the minute anybody is like, hey, that's why I've always told people in the NPC group, if you ever get bored, all you have to do is just say something
Yeah. What I think. Oh, I think we cut off.
of stuff if
Ah.
you get bored.
You got cut off, Raincloud. Sorry.
Uh-oh. That's okay. Nobody wanted to hear me talk anyway.
I did.
Well, I did.
Oh, thank you.
he was saying that he's got a board of stuff, and all you have to do is ask him or ask any of the other NPCs to get involved, and we'll love to get
No.
involved.
Oh yeah.
What I'm thinking now
I
is,
wanna-
can we get like 20 volunteers at the next event to bring like regular civilian outfits? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put Arthur to the test, and we're gonna have a protest in town. We're gonna come marching through protesting.
There won't be Arthur this time. It'll be somebody else.
Oh, I thought he was still
I
gonna be
had
there.
actually thought of that a couple days ago, that a peaceful protest would be so much fun to do at one of these events, just to see how the Empire and Perla deal with it.
What I would
We joked after Andor season 1 came out if we could get a bunch of foam bricks and leave around.
They
the
do
town.
make those. They do make those. Okay. Here's what I'm thinking. 10 people are a pro-Perla, anti-Empire protesters, and they're protesting for Perla to kick the Empire out. 10 of them are pro-Empire, anti-Perla, and they're protesting for Perla to step aside and let the Empire come in. And then we have like 2 agitators on each side that are just like, hey, you want a foam brick to throw at somebody? What was that, Sloan?
I throw a grenade.
No.
That's exactly what would happen.
That's what-
Exactly what would happen.
We're gonna have our Rick's Road moment all over again.
But that
It's very
is
doable.
Yeah.
that is a situation that I have wanted to do. We've just been we haven't had enough people to facilitate something like that yet.
Listen, I've got civilian clothes now, and we got 2 volunteers in the YouTube chat. We got.
I saw that, yeah.
We're gonna have Betty up front with a megaphone. Gonk. Gonk. Yeah, but no. Let me put on some of these new civilian clothes I have, and I'll be up front.
Yeah.
Like passing around bricks and fake Molotovs or whatever the Star Wars version of a Molotov is. This is something we got like 3 volunteers already. This is something I think the people want. Arthur
And
Lester,
that's the great
be
thing
ready.
about it, especially in getting involved in the Discord, is that you say, hey guys, I have an idea, and then you just kind of see where that snowball goes, and maybe it picks up more snow, or
Yeah.
maybe it just kind of fizzles out. And that's
And
what's
we've
great
got
about
Uba,
this.
too.
Yeah, we got
That,
Uba.
again, you don't need a blaster to be able to have a peaceful protest. You don't
Alright, I'm
need
writing
to
down on
have
the
a
board.
blaster. You don't need to have a blaster to go to the casino and play. You don't have to have a blaster to go to the casino and get something to eat, or just chit chat with people.
Yeah.
So there's things you can do, especially if you just want to be there and be part of that experience. And so, yeah, it just my thought is have something that you can do that you can fall back on once you get bored.
Right on. Yeah.
Yep.
I think we need to start a protest now. We've got plenty of volunteers.
It's on the board. All right, it's on the board. It'll get it'll
You
get
heard it here first, guys. Police brutality coming to GCW.
Yeah!
everyone that can events at Vale's Edge probably.
Right on. Listen, some of you were Civil War reenactors. We can do some shot heard round the,
Oh, yeah.
the galaxy.
Oh yeah.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. What was the actual question that you asked? Because I've forgotten by the time we got to me.
I forgot to. I'm too excited thinking about throwing a brick at some of the Pearly guys. No hate to the Pearly guys. I just want to throw a brick at
I'm sorry.
somebody.
My
But
mother
one
is
thing I wanted
volunteering.
to touch on is there was a comment in the YouTube chat about NPC stands for non-player characters, so I can see why people would think
Yeah.
that means they're not going to get to participate. And that is something that we have discussed recently in the admin chat about the brand of NPC does sort of throw people off, but that's not the way we do things.
Oh, we're gone.
Standing there in the shop for 10 hours of the event. In fact, that's something that I'm very adamant on. I just talked about. Okay, I'm sorry, Recklin. I do apologize, but that unfortunate circumstance that happened. But I just posted last night in the Discord for NPC and immersion players that we are doing the shifts rotations to make because Vale's Edge is 50 hours. We all have to go take a break.
No breaks.
Need to go.
No
Yeah,
breaks.
I'm gonna have to take a break this time. I can't do 50 hours. I kind of did Fate's Grasp in one sitting, but I don't think I can do Vale's Edge in one sitting. So shifts are going to be very important. And with NPCs, if you come and you do your own shop, you don't have a backlog of people to come in and help fill the gaps if you want to take a break.
Mhm.
And if you want to come run a shop as an NPC, it's a lot easier because we can swap in and out. We should be able to swap in and out. It hasn't worked super well in the past because we've run short of people, but that's always the idea. I just wanted to hit on that real quick before we continued on.
That's a good way to keep those people entertained. If you're bored by afternoon, go see if Recklin needs some help. Go see what the droid shop guy is doing. Go get a job.
Yes, that's actually going to be a role that I'm typing up. I actually worked on it yesterday of the rules for a player to work in a shop. What they have to participate in and what their payout is.
I just want to point out that the ISB is in the chat, and they are very excited about the protest idea as well.
I saw that Gabby said they already have a foam brick, and that has me slightly concerned.
Yeah, we do have a foam brick that was left in our car from someone we gave a ride home from a convention. So, hey, we got a foam brick. I might throw it at somebody. No grenades. If you throw a grenade, nerd. We're here throwing bricks and glass bottles, but like fake breakaway glass bottles, like these in movies.
Fake ones.
I don't want to hear not one electric motor spinning up. I just want people. I want to see people throwing hands. All right, now we're getting very like off topic. Do not hit people. Do not throw things at people. This is not.
I was about to go there. I can already see 6mm is typing in the chat. I can almost see him right now going, no.
I think what's very important, especially since we have in the past been very adamant and very clear about no hand-to-hand or melee.
Yeah.
This would have to be something that we would have to coordinate ahead of time.
Yes.
And
okay.
say, okay. So just everybody, we are doing this for fun. If you're going to do this, we have to do this. It's the right way, or we'll never be able to do it again. So I think it will allow us to do something that's a little bit more hands-on. We have to be very careful about this, but there are things that you can do still. It's just, we have to be very mindful of doing it. And it can't just be, we're just going to free for all it. And it's like, no, that doesn't work like that. So,
yeah.
But We're all excited,
It's
but
like the brawls we do at Living History. You have to coordinate it first.
Yeah,
Like if you
so
have a brawl with the other faction, you have to coordinate that first. Like if you want to have the drunken brawl between the Brits and the Yank at the dance party, you got to coordinate that.
and that's something I wanted to get into in the next part of this topic of conversation was, once we start, once you show up, okay, if I have an idea for a scene that I want to play out, where, I say I have an idea where my character borrowed money and hasn't paid it back, and I want Recklin to come like shake me down for it. How do we establish that scene where we're kind of playing out that physical violence that's like more than just BBs without it being like an issue? And the first thing is establish it ahead of time. Like set the parameters, say, hey, this is what I'm okay, this is what I'm not okay with. Obviously, you're never going to actually hit someone. If you want to like fake throw a punch, telegraph it real slow, like, hey, I'm going to throw a punch during this thing. I might say this part, it's going to come slow, and then, you just play it up. But the key thing is, again, establishing that scene. We don't want people jumping in thinking it's a brawl. So you kind of want to ham it up a little bit in your acting, making it very obvious it's roleplay. Don't be too good of an actor and people think you're actually fighting.
Another thing that's really handy in those type of situations, if you have a third party that's on the outside that helps keep people from getting too involved.
Of course.
Like you have that third party who is like, no, we're not actually going to get involved in case somebody tries to do something dumb.
Mm-hmm. And
because at that moment you can't keep an eye on everybody because you're focused on doing the skit.
Yeah, and a very important thing too that a lot of other LARPs always ham on that I think we should really start is establishing consent and letting someone know that you can revoke that at any time. So let's say we set up this scene, Recklin comes over, we start the scene, and suddenly I feel awkward, I feel embarrassed, I'm not enjoying it. I can just go, hey man, nope, and we're done. That's it. Recklin turns around and walks away. I turn and walk away, and that's the end of the scene. Or I feel like maybe Recklin's too good of an actor, and I feel like the violence is getting too real. Hey man, all right, cool, we're done. So establishing those boundaries to play out these skits and these scenes, I think is a good way for players to make their own roleplay fun. Where it's like, hey, do you want to roleplay like, hey, maybe we're drunk and we're in town being rowdy, and we're gonna go mess with the Perla guys. So.
Software, I know exactly who he's talking about.
We all know exactly who he's talking about.
Yeah, so maybe beforehand, I would go to a Perla guy and I'd say, hey, me and my friend want to kind of play as drunk rowdy guys. Is it cool if we like come through and like jokingly throw insults and act like we're going to start trouble, and then like you can just like pretend push us down and we'll drunkenly pretend to fall over. Like establish that boundary ahead of time, establish consent for the scene ahead of time. And now, okay, me and my buddy, we walk off, we go get plastered at the cantina, we come back, and we have this fun scene play out where people that are also in town or in the area can just watch and feel entertained, where we're still feeling entertained because we're getting to do this cool thing that's not just shooting Imperials, which is also a very fun thing to do. Talk to me afterwards if you want to do that.
No, less of that. It's half of my battle.
I'm going to stop you right there.
One thing,
someone in chat is saying that the Perla and Huts worked on choreography a little bit.
Yes, they did.
I'm so down. If you want to like come work, like plan out fight choreography with me, and we'll do something silly like that, I'm so down for it.
One thing to remember is have a end prepared for when the choreography fails. Because we're not professionals. We haven't been rehearsing this for 3 weeks.
Exactly.
You're going to screw it up. What's your exit strategy?
Yep.
And I've been guilty of forgetting that. I recently did one last year where I told the guys in the armored car at this public event, I'm going to run up with a Hawkins mine. I'm going to jump on the side. I want you to push or shovel me off the car. And I run up to the car, hop on the side, come up the top, and everybody in the middle are completely unaware and forgot that I was there. And I'm just sitting there with this thing going, well, I guess boom.
You need some improv skills for sure.
Yeah. The look on the guy's face as he's loading the 75, just looking up and going, ah. So be prepared for that to not work as well.
Right. Yeah. always be prepared for
You do
failure.
need those contingency plans.
Yeah.
Yes.
You need to be prepared for things to go wrong. We used to do at Riley's when we'd get all these school children up there for tours, we'd get them together and okay, welcome to Riley's farm. Here's the rules. You know, here's where you're allowed to go, where you're not allowed to go. Here's what you can expect. In the middle of giving those rules, we would have two redcoats start harassing a colonist, and then the colonists would fight back, and some others would come over, and it ended with the redcoats shooting at the colonists. And for the most part, that went off pretty well. It was great. The kids loved it. Great immersion. Exactly the kind of scene setting you're talking about. But in the 5 years I worked there, we saw that go wrong plenty of times. We had one instance where a particularly rowdy group of school children decided that they were going to try and intervene. And we're watching them try and get in front of the colonists to shield them, and the redcoats are like, "Okay, everyone, safely unload your muskets and let's back off and act like we're gonna calm down." We had another instance where it was raining and the muskets just didn't fire, and the colonists just kind of looked at the redcoats for a little bit and then just went and took off running into the woods. We had another instance on a day where it snowed, where the colonists just picked up snowballs and started throwing them at the redcoats, and the redcoats threw down their muskets and started throwing snowballs back. So improv skills come in a lot of handy, but if
Yeah.
you're going to set a scene like that, the biggest thing I agree with Raincloud would be to have someone third party who can kind of mitigate the crowds or anyone who's
Mhm.
watching and keeping them from disrupting the scene, but even still have a contingency plan for if it
For sure.
disrupts.
And let's not
Right.
make all of these just be like coordinated fist fights, because one, those can go wrong very quickly. Two, people
Yes.
might not realize it's coordinated and it's fake, and they might think something's going on. And three, that invites a lot of outside interference, even if they know it's role play. You know, if we have a
Yeah.
scene where a rebel and an empire kind of agreed to have this choreographed scene where maybe they turn a corner and they like are tussling a little bit, it could inspire some fellow faction members to be like, well, I'm gonna help him out and I'm just gonna shoot the other guy, which that might be fine in what you're going for, but you know, you have to be prepared for the fact that, like you said earlier, kind of have a third person on standby. Just be like, hey, look, don't let them have that out, or if you have to, you know, talk out of character. And that's one thing I think GCW we should like push more is differentiating between out of character and in character. Am I breaking up?
Yes,
Am I
there's
losing?
no.
Okay.
We lost you for a second. There's no
Okay.
reason to not be able just to duck into a building real quick out of the way and go, "Hey, let's chat about this."
Even
I mean,
in a
that's
broader sense, I know a lot of organizations will have
Nope.
like hand signals where it's like, hey, if I do this fist over my head, it means I'm talking out of character. So let's say I'm the third man, you two have a scene going on. People are coming up, I can be like, hey guys, no, let them do it, and they're not really listening to me. I can be like, hey, they're having a scene, you know, just let them out of character, like let them play it out. I think stuff like that could really help us a lot when differentiating between those characters. You know, because I would love to have
Right.
a lot of these scenes organized between rebels and Imperials. I know it's one thing I think we both want is the ability to role play out of faction. You know, just rebels and rebels is fine, and Imperials is fine. But I know there's Imperials that want to role play with some rebels, and vice versa.
It is a lot harder at GCW because almost everybody has a blaster pistol. It's not like Living History where most people aren't carrying a weapon and we can do a skit without
Yeah.
a lot of outside interference. Every single player has the ability to end the fight or end the scene right
Yeah.
there with their blaster.
Yeah. That is
Which does complicate things quite a bit.
that is one thing I know.
And you know what? You can work that into a scene. You can start a choreographed
absolutely.
scene like that with the intention of somebody interrupting and stopping it.
I've
Go
done
to the
that.
huts and be like, "Hey, can you come shake me down in town and just rob me? And let's see if anyone wants to be a hero."
give
you can set
Perla
scenes
something
like
to do.
that.
Or I think
Yeah.
one that I would love to have play out is, especially since we do have these non-fire zones like the cantina, let's have a scene where, you know, a Imperial and a rebel are in there and they get into argument, and well, I mean, it's an argument like loud shouting, but things can kind of evolve to where it's like, let's take this outside. You know, we're gonna have a cowboy showdown. You know, things of that nature. So
And that's something that's happened in the past where they've done like duels in the street, mostly for competition. But you know that has happened in the past where they do have like They do take it to the
Yeah.
streets as blasters and not hand to hand or melee. So
Yeah.
even then, there was things to do. But I think rather than rely on like a choreographed fight, you know, shouting at a distance is probably going to be the safest thing to do. Is from of course, the the site might not allow us to do anything that's even close to getting hands onto another
Yeah.
person. So shouting and witty banter and sick burns would
The
probably be
best.
the best way to go about that, or just even just have uh, just a discussion. Things get heated, things cool down. And
Yeah, your
it doesn't
characters
have
can
it
have
doesn't have
a
to be this
disagreement. Yeah.
huge climax. You just have a disagreement, and people start like, "Hey, these guys are starting to get kind of loud," and then maybe it resolves, maybe it fizzles out, maybe one guy's got to leave, and so there are ways that we can end this. That doesn't have to be like now we got to
Exactly.
shoot each other. It's
Yeah.
there's ways you can resolve, and I think we can also explore into that a lot more. It's just we've got to take the time to go and do that. And
Of course.
NPCs, immersion players. I want to shout out immersion players. They're
Yep.
also players who are kind of a little bit in on the
Yep.
NPC world, so they know a little bit more about what we're doing behind the scenes, and they can help kind of guide players into doing something that's a little bit more story oriented. So it's kind of like being in both worlds. You're kind of helping out the story, but you're also still being part of the faction with goals, missions, and objectives. So not just being an NPC or just a person who's civilian who's just there to explore, but sometimes also we also have these players that kind of live in both
Yeah.
worlds where they help out the story, but also are part of the game.
Well said. Well said. And I think that's a big thing too, where as we kind of mentioned, if you are just a player and you wanted something besides shooting, find an immersion player. Or what I would really say is I would really encourage everyone to show up the night before. Normally I would say Friday night, but now Friday night's part of the game and so is Friday afternoon. So, try and get there
Yep.
Friday morning,
So
Thursday night,
Thursday.
so you can take some time to mingle and maybe while there, find an immersion player and decide on a scene that you want to act out with them. Find some other players and say, "Hey, I have an idea. Would you guys be interested in like acting out this like cool scenario?" Now, let's put this out there in advance. If the scenario is you are like the coolest guy ever and you're putting like sick burns out and you're like quick draw killing 4 guys and you're like Johnny Cool Guy, you're probably not going to get too much interest in that scene.
Yep.
But if
I was
you,
about to go
yeah,
there.
but if you're an unaffiliated player and you're like, "Hey, you Imperial guys, Saturday around noon, do you want to try and be in town and like you catch me like stealing from a shop?" Like I'll
Yep.
preset a prop over on Recklin's like table. I'll make sure he's cool with it. And I'm just gonna like when you guys are in town, I'm just gonna walk by, grab it, put it in my jacket, and you guys can just like come hassle me. And the end of the scene can be, you search me or someone interferes, or I go look over there and I run away and you can shoot me in the back if you want to shoot me in the back. Or we can have our Benny Hall chase scene where we're just running in and out of buildings while music plays. So that would encourage everyone to like, obviously, real world comes first and work and all these things, but really try and get there in the before times, so you can socialize, you can talk to people,
I'll
you
be.
can mingle. Yeah, if you see a purple armband, that's a good place to start.
Yep.
That
DM
S
an
word is
immersion
scary
player.
for a lot of us.
Yeah. DM some of these immersion players on Discord. I'll suggest one right now. Ronan, the casino shop owner, I'm sure he would love to work out a cool scene
Oh,
with
he
you.
loves that. Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to do some stuff with some rebels, come talk to me and we'll figure something out. Um, so
And it
we
doesn't
can make
have
these
to
things happen.
always. You don't have to plan ahead for every situation either.
Mhm.
You can always also, you know, if you're in the moment, be kind of like start away and then see if the other people are going with you
Yeah.
in that sort of storyline, and then just keep going.
Mhm.
You don't always have to plan on everything. Planning out beforehand does help, but
Yeah.
don't feel like you can't be involved with something that's just kind of in the spur of the moment too.
Yeah. Be
Like I know
willing
we've
to
been
be
talking about,
spontaneous.
planning things beforehand, which is great, but don't feel like you can only plan things beforehand. Like that's good to do,
Hmm.
but feel free to do other stuff. Like
Yeah.
feel free to get drunk at the casino for no reason.
For that.
I wonder who did that.
No one would ever do that. And I'll tell you what, Sloan. One of the reasons I really wanted you on this episode was because you are a player. You are not an admin, you're not an NPC, you are a player, and yet you've been very good at making these roleplay things happen. Your first event was a Battlefront event, and you spent the entire time role-playing. I don't know how you do that. So
I saw the videos. And everybody was. I wasn't there, and I heard about the droid technician Sloan.
yeah.
Everybody was like, "Did you hear about the droid technician?"
So I wonder, is there any like
And I heard a
general
video with
advice?
that accent.
Yeah, is there any like general advice you could give to someone that like they don't want to shoot all the time, they want to role play?
Simplicity is key.
Yes.
I will say that a million times to every single person. Simplicity is key. It's great if you want to write out a big elaborate backstory for your character. That's fine. Just know that nobody else on the field really knows that backstory. You know, maybe one or two people read it, but 90% of the people you interact with do not know that your character is a former Mandalorian who used to know Obi-Wan Kenobi and all of that. We don't know that. It means nothing to us. And the way to make it mean something to us is through interaction and growing your character naturally. When you think of any of the main characters from Star Wars, Luke Skywalker,
John
he starts
Husky.
out as a moisture farmer. Yeah, exactly. We know nothing about him. He's a nobody. Rey starts out as a scavenger, and I think she ends up being Palpatine's
Whoa,
sister.
spoiler.
I didn't watch the last movie. I don't when I came up to my first event, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I literally picked out the name Sloan on the drive to the event based off of a pawn shop that we passed on the way. I could show you on Google Maps exactly where the name Sloan was created.
That's beautiful.
And I just on the drive up there, I had a few little bullet points in the back of my head. I knew that I was Imperial through and through. I was ambitious, and I was an Imperial Navy dropout. That's it. That's all I went in there with, and I let everything else occur organically. And that is how you are going to establish a character and get good interaction. Because, you know, like I said, having a super advanced background is great, but that's a lot for you to remember, let alone other people. And it's just going to confuse things. It can be done. But simplicity is key.
I like something you've had there with you're a Navy dropout. That's a character flaws are things that I cannot encourage people to have enough of in their character backstories, and to play with those when it doesn't matter if you're an NPC, immersion player, regular player, having some sort of character flaw or having multiples of those make everything more fun for you
Yeah.
and the people
Yeah. Oh, got some cutout.
around.
Sorry.
NPC dude who has, easy one that I like to play oftentimes is no idea how to use a weapon, can't defend themselves. That's an easy one that I use for a lot of my characters. And
Yeah.
that right there, I don't have to say anything else. Everyone understands I don't have a blaster. I run away from the firefight, and it adds more to that character's story.
Yeah.
And even if you have things like this character can't read, I had a player come up and said they couldn't write their name, and that was a awesome character because I had them. We had the spaceport. You had to sign that you delivered this package to the spaceport, and this player goes, "I can't write. I can't read." And I was just like, "Okay, well, here's what we're gonna do. Here's some lettering. Why don't you go in town and talk to some people? Just kind of put a scribble on there for right now." The guy did that, went out later in the day, came back, and was like, I learned how to write my name, and put an X on the piece of paper.
That's amazing.
And so stuff like that, one, it adds memorable stories, it adds stuff to the character, and it gives you something to play with. Even, yeah, so kind of like that. I just wanted to touch on that. Recklin.
A couple of things. One is you need to be friendly, or at least extroverted. You have to be able to engage people. I'm an extroverted introvert. By myself, I'm going to be sitting doing my thing. Someone asked me, "Hey, can you go do stand in front of a group of people and
I don't know what's wrong with my
talk.
internet.
I can engage, and that's what gets people to know about me is that I share who I am. I share my character. The other thing, besides being friendly, engaging, is to ask questions. And sometimes just asking the obvious question helps people engage. I was doing I was on a mission actually uh, at a Battlefront event, and I had this. We had the scientific equipment, and we had these two guys that we were kind of like we were like on the last squad, and there was like, okay, we got these scientists that need to go do stuff. Well, you guys are being assigned to do that, and so I'm carrying the science equipment with Uba, and these guys, and I'm just kind of making small talk. I'm just kind of like, so what, so where's your home world? Just real kind of basic stuff like
That
that. Or
question
why
stumps so
why
many
did you
players.
you know and they a couple of people said like one guy said I hadn't even thought, where do I consider home, or what is
Yep.
what do I consider my home world? They're just the basics of, why are you a rebel, why are you imperial? I don't know anything about Mandalorians. Could you know you have like, are you guys just ugly, or
Yeah,
like,
being
just
ignorant in
being
character is so much
oh,
fun.
Mhm.
it is. Especially if you know if someone throws like something at you. I'm trying to think of something like somebody
Somebody will say like Jedi
like
to me, and I'll
somebody
go, "What's
says
that?"
a what?
Somebody will go, "What?" So, you heard about that Jedi? I'm like, "What's a Jedi?" Or something like that.
Yeah, what's a Jedi? Or
Jedi aren't
have you
real.
seen Cad Bane? It's like, what's a Cad
Who?
Bane? You
Yeah.
know, uh, what is a Cad Bane? And
Has anyone
well,
here
he's like,
seen Cad Bane?
I
you know,
got tussled by him once.
Sloan, you look
So-
distressed. What's wrong?
That's all looks distressed. I forgot about that clip.
Few interactions with Cad Bane, yeah.
There's nobody alive that is done.
uh, but Recklin, please continue.
brilliant.
Yeah.
Honestly, that was it.
Huh?
To be just, you have to be willing to share your character,
Yeah.
which means
Mhm.
you just you have to have basics, but also that you have, asking questions gets people to share about themselves.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
And it gets people thinking about their characters, and then they end up most of the time replying with more in character,
Mhm.
which will then transfer to more story, and it will build on top of itself.
Yeah.
That's happened many, many times.
and before you know
But
it,
yeah,
you're
the
having a
question
full in
of
character debate, and it's
absolutely,
it's
and those are
wonderful.
so much fun
Yeah.
to have in character debates. But yeah, on that note of asking people what their homeworld is, that is a question I ask a lot. So like, so where are you from? And we'll get the blank stare of them going, or they'll say, I'm from Texas. What planet is Texas? And then they go,
Regorger.
I lucked out on that one a lot actually, because I'm a Star Wars fan, but not a
Yep.
huge Star Wars fan, or at least I wasn't until GCW. I am now. But I started doing the British accent just because I knew how to
Ew.
do it from Riley's. And Justin pulled me aside at one point, and he goes, "So, from your accent, I can assume you're from Coruscant, right?" And I was like,
Cut out at the worst times.
"I
I'm
am
sorry.
from accent, but that works for me."
Yeah.
I got really lucky with that one.
And look, Coruscant's always a great answer if you're not sure. I feel like Justin has
There's
told me.
thousands of
Yeah.
levels on Coruscant. Yeah,
Justin
you
has
can see
told
from
me
the
that people
underbelly.
default to saying Tatooine. That's a bad default answer.
That's a bad,
That's,
yeah.
that's like if everyone's default
Coruscant.
answer of where are you from, if everyone was like Guam. We can't all possibly be from Guam. So the Coruscant is like the best default.
You're right there, Sloan. I wasn't ready for it either.
Of all places.
I was thinking like we're somewhere small but kind of like recognizable. Guam.
Between a space Guam, that is
Everyone's getting to, oh, I'm from space Guam. What planet? Guam. It's like hiding right there in the whatever. Anyway, yeah. So have those basics down. But one thing I wanted to touch on was sirens going by. I hope you can't hear them. Recklin, you mentioned be friendly and be kind of inquisitive and ask these questions, but a lot of people I don't want to play an antagonist. For lack of a better word, they want to play a butthead, a jerk. And there is a way to do that, but I know a lot of LARPs and a lot of roleplay groups can kind of struggle where it's like, okay, you've gone past role playing a jerk, and now you're just being a jerk. You're not fun to be around. So that's a very delicate line to walk, and I think it's important to recognize that, like, if you want to play that antagonistic jerk, at the end of the day, you kind of have to be the butt of the joke.
Yes.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
I think one of the hardest character archetypes to roleplay as is mysterious,
Mhm.
because if you're
Yes.
trying to be mysterious, no one's going to come interact with you. If you're
Yeah.
just standing in the corner, most people are going to leave you alone in the corner unless they have some reason to come interact with you. The next hardest to play is definitely jerk, and it's a very fine line to walk. I, being a redcoat for 5 years, that was my job, was to play the jerk. We had to walk a very fine line of harassing school children, essentially, and lightheartedly bullying them enough for them to not like us, but not enough to actually hurt their feelings.
Yes.
That's a very difficult line to walk.
I I agree. I
Go ahead.
used to play a Jesse James character. Actually, I did play Jesse James from our local historical things, and that is a challenge to be that. I'm the bad guy, but I'm trying not to be a bad guy, especially because there are kids right there. Like you can't do like terrible things. You have to find that balance, and yet you also still don't want to really hurt your friends.
Yeah.
You've got to find that line. It's a challenge. When you find it, though, it can be a lot of fun, but it is hard to get there.
Definitely.
Right. And I think that's also a very interesting concept because that's kind of one of the archetypes that is very common amongst the Mandalorians. Is
Yes.
that this
Yes.
mysterious, quiet, and it's hard
Standoffish.
to do because I mean, if you get the lighting right and you get the music going, yeah, okay, I get you're mysterious, but if you're saying Dusty Street, it's just it's hard, it's inscrutable because also
Yeah.
I can't your face is hidden from mine, so it's I think that's what a lot of Mandalorians want to play is that mysterious
Yes.
sort of thing, and
You're
I
not Strider. You're not
one of the ones
Aragon.
Yeah.
right, and it's hard to do. So especially if you are looking to do Mandalorian or you are Mandalorian, uh, I say this with uh, respect because I realize it's a lot of work and it's something that a lot of these players are very passionate about is also to develop a personality that gets you engaged with people.
Hmm.
One of the players who does this very well is Joe Wolf. He is a
Yes.
very personable Mandalorian, and I know some other Mandalorians who still kind of do the standoffish sort of thing, but they also have a personality that is that they engage with because
Yeah.
as a person who interacts with them, especially since being the blaster guy, I interact with them a lot. So having having developing a personality that especially if you want to still try to do the mysterious thing as to just also like mysterious but talkative or mysterious but don't say anything at all. Maybe you try to communicate through hand language. That would be
That'd be
definitely a
kind of neat.
challenge.
That'd be neat. Yeah.
Definitely a challenge,
Mhm.
but that's a very difficult character, and I realize that because you guys all have blasters and have resilience and Beskar, so I can't I can't run my mouth. But I think it's also something that we need to be aware of too, is that we're also have to interact with you as well.
Mhm.
Mandalorians are an essential part of our community as well, but we
Mhm.
also can't. Everyone can't all be mysterious.
Yeah, we can't all
Dialogue
be
If we're
situation
being
Aragon.
neat.
honest, if we're being honest, Mandalorians are trying to play GCW on hard mode for
Yeah.
sure. They've
Mhm. Oh, we cut out again. What is going
They
on?
have no facial expressions for others to read, and
Mhm.
they're trying to play the mysterious and sometimes rude archetype. Which, yeah, they're playing GCW on hard mode. Everyone wants to be Din Djarin or Boba Fett or Jango Fett, and that is very, very difficult to pull off if you don't have George Lucas orchestrating the events around you.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'd love to see some Mandalorians at some point kind of start and break that stereotype. Fixer from Republic Commando. I want to see a Mandalorian who talks and acts like him. Like that would be so
Please.
cool.
Please, that'd be
My man.
awesome. I think that whole concept kind of goes to an issue that we've kind of been touching on, which is that main character syndrome. Everybody is the main character in their own life, but nobody, no matter how much we joke about it, is the main character of GCW. So like we said, when you want to like plan out scenes and skits, if you're the straight man who comes out on top every time, no one's going to want to partake in that with you. If you're trying to play the mysterious jerk who's, always a step ahead and he always wins every gunfight, does anyone really want to roleplay being a peon for you to step on? Probably not. So be willing to kind of put yourself down, even if you are playing like the most noble, upstanding person ever. Be willing to be the fall guy. Be willing to be the black sheep every now and again. And let the joke be on you. Let you be the one that gets shot or loses. Be willing to lose. Be willing to fail forward. Because you're not the main character. There is 199 other people at this event that all want to have a great time and do amazing, cool roleplay. If you help them do amazing, cool roleplay, they'll help you do amazing, cool roleplay. And now we're all getting to do amazing, cool roleplay. And I want to bring up something because Jesse Taylor just texted me saying, haha, Space Guam. He had a story that I think that he told me a long time ago that I think pertains to what we've talked about. He was telling me that at one of his first fantasy LARP events.
We talked
Again, worst time for him to cut out.
It always is.
Rewind a little bit to what we wanted to talk about tonight, or pertains to what we talked about tonight.
Yeah, that.
It always cuts out right as I'm starting a story, or right when one of you are starting a story, and then it'll like come back. So this is gonna be a rough episode to listen back to because I'm gonna be cringing the whole time at my internet. But anyway, so he was telling me that at one of his first times going to a fantasy LARP that I believe is called Weekend Warrior. It might be Reckoning, but I'm pretty sure it's Weekend Warrior. He went by himself. And his character had made a in-character's like cultural faux pas he was unaware of. And part of that was like, because of that, like he was found guilty and he was being put through his punishment was a trial by combat to the death, basically. And one thing he told me that I really liked was that the faction staff, I should say, I'm not too sure who it was, pulled him aside and just asked out of character, is this something you want for your character? Like, is this something you're okay with? Is this something you want to do? So that, I feel like, comes down to all of this. At any time, be willing to ask, like, hey, is this something you really want to do? Or, like, hey, are you, like, actually mad at, like, out of character? Are you actually mad? There's a concept called character bleed, where the emotions your character would be feeling start bleeding over into you to where you feel frustrated, you feel mad, you feel embarrassed. And when you start experiencing that character bleed, I think it's okay to say like, hey, I'm not like cool with this right now. And I know GCW, it can be a little rough because we all have blasters. And if I'm like confronting you and you're like, I'm not okay with this right now, you might be getting in the way of like something I need to do, but be willing to talk that out and work through it. If you're saying, hey, I'm not cool with this role play, but I have the MacGuffin you need, let's just take the MacGuffin and we can talk about it later. And if anyone asks, we'll say we role played. Being willing to discuss those things. And like I said earlier, did we lose me again?
Briefly.
I did.
You're back.
Okay. I think, my audio is recorded directly from me, from my mic. So I think the YouTube or the Discord lagging doesn't affect anyone catching my audio. But yeah, so shout out to Jesse for that whole story. But I think that's something very key and at the heart of a lot of what we've talked about tonight, is just being willing to communicate out of character things that you are and aren't and want to do in character.
Yes. And so far from the experiences that I've had, now granted, I get to see the golden hour almost of GCW because wherever I go, it seems like the story goes because I help get the story moving in a lot of areas. But in most cases that I've been a part of, if you've ever said, or somebody's ever been like, hey, I don't really feel comfortable with this, it's always been absolutely, yeah, immediately rectified. In this
Yeah,
very few situations I've been in.
and that applies to a lot of stuff too. I know we don't talk about, like, let's say you find yourself getting a heat band for something that you maybe like, okay, I didn't realize I'd get a heat band, or I wasn't super cool with how that went down, but I got the heat band. Someone comes to arrest you, and a bounty hunter gets you. Well, you're going to jail for the next 30 minutes. If it's a genuine thing, like, this can be abused by people that are just like not wanting to pay the fines or the fees for the heat bands. But if you're like, hey, I really am not cool with the direction of that. Like, I didn't really want to be a part of that. I didn't really want to get the heat band. Like, can I have a soft reset where I just like step away from all this and my character isn't a part of it? I think that's okay. Now, if you're abusing it and you're running around murder hoboing and you're like, oh, well, my character doesn't want any heat, it's not what I'm going for. At that point, you're essentially cheating the rules of the game. So we'll address that as admins, like, you're cheating. But that's an option on the table for people. If you're really not cool with something, you can speak up and say that. So, be willing to do that, and then also be willing to find Raincloud and throw a grenade at him, because he
I
loves
know
when
who you
people
are.
do that. He knows.
I actually do. The story implications of that grenade throw was fantastic.
I know. I've been meaning to talk to that individual and be like, hey, you realize that you're probably like super wanted by everyone. Like, everyone knows who you are now. There is no more undercover salesman.
Perla definitely is aware.
Yeah, we'll need to talk to him before at least the next spellover event, if not by Veil's Edge.
Yeah.
Winner. Oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, oh.
You
Okay,
started to
we're
say
good.
something, and then you like morphed into like 7 different versions of yourself on my side.
Sorry, I was just like picking a personality to have for the next 30 minutes. Real quick, speaking of Veil's Edge, that one has been announced. That'll be our first 50-hour event. I hope you're ready with 50 hours of content.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I hope we're
I
all.
can't wait. I am so glad we went this way.
I hope we're
was
all
one of
ready
the
to
guys
not
who was
eat or
pushing
sleep for
it.
50 hours. Yeah, no, we've been pushing for this. I know, like, Jesse and Justin were pushing for this, wanting to do 3-day, if not a 4-day. Because it feels like, at least in my opinion, Sunday is when most people are like comfortably in character and you get the most role play.
A while.
So
yeah.
Hopefully by starting Friday at noon, maybe by Saturday at noon, people are comfortably in character. So yeah. I'm looking forward to that.
I will say I have already taken this to my local World War II guys. Not my unit, but the other units, because my unit is full on for long range events. But some of the other local units have been like, nobody wants to go out, for more than 10 hours and play a game. Nobody wants to do that. And now I'm like, look, the airsofters have you beat.
Yeah. That's a crazy thing to think. The airsofters have you beat. That is like borderline insulting, I think.
To some reenactors,
yeah.
it is.
To some reenactors.
It very much is.
But I don't consider GCW as airsofters. We are not airsofters.
I've walked away from that too. Yes,
Yeah.
I do believe we have switched away from airsoft, and we have almost gone completely into LARP with airsoft combat.
Yeah.
Even
airsoft is a mechanic.
Airsoft is a mechanic, and I like to conceptualize it as it's an experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a game, because we talked an awful lot about the game, but really it's also an experience, and that's really what really sells this event to ordinary people who do costumes or are interested in the lore or the galaxy far, far away, is that we take it. It's not we are approaching this as airsofters, and this is the flavor of the airsoft. This is more of a costuming event that's a little bit more on the aggressive side. I mean, you're going to still, be walking around a lot, but you also get a practical feel for if you're wearing armor. It's like it's going to shift around in weird spots because you're going to be a lot more active. So really, it's an experience because outside of a con, you're really not going to see anything else like this. And the con, depending on the quality of the con, how big it is, they may not have those giant sets. And we're working on that, and I think that's another interesting thing about this is that you can develop your character how you want to develop your character. Imperials have a uniform but they also have a lot of variety within that uniform. Rebels, same thing. There's a lot of variety in those. As an unaffiliated or as an NPC or a civilian, you have a lot of different varieties and variations that help kind of bring in your culture or what your beliefs are or what's important to you in your character. What's your motivation?
Right on.
Yes,
And you're definitely good at help bringing that variety in with a lot of the clothing on sale.
he does. It
Yeah.
really is
Yeah.
cool.
So very few people know this, and I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out right now.
Mhm.
I am going to make a soft announcement right now that I am opening a website that is going to be displaying the stuff that I have available in my shop, so that people can kind of window shop ahead of time and say, okay, I'm looking for an extra large shirt. Um, what is it? What's going to be available? What kind of gear will I have available? What sort of pants, trousers, vest, or just stuff that they can get in contact with me, and I'll have it reserved for them. Unfortunately, it really doesn't work that way with blasters because I don't have the blasters. I'm given the
Yeah.
blasters the day of the event, so I can't. I don't always know what is going to be showing up, so I can't. I mean, I can't even give a preview because I honestly don't know until I'm actually at the event. So
Yeah.
be looking for that on the Discord the next couple of days.
Right
Again, you
on.
won't be able to
Awesome.
order, but you'll be able to reserve items that if you see there that you're interested in getting. Again, they're all very affordable sorts of items. So
Mhm.
that's one of the things I wanted to share.
Right on. I know I've got
That's
some
gonna be
stuff
awesome.
I've bought from your shop, so
I've got some stuff from Recklin as well. Like, it's now my new Durin costume and
nice.
Duro costume. Not
Nice.
Durin, sorry, not Durin. Duro and Duster, Clive Duster. I
You've
use
got too many
Recklin
characters to
stuff.
keep track of. I know I got your card here. It has like pictures of a lot of them. I don't recognize most of these. Like, who even is these people? I can't get the show on screen, but
Yeah,
who are these people? I recognize like
that's the
two of
great thing about it. That's the great thing about it is that you never know who exactly Rain Cloud is going to be.
them. Yeah. I have the worst face blindness at LARPs because if you put different clothes on, you're a whole new person. I like
That's how I hope people do it.
uh
It's-
Sloane's
I don't always get
terrible, terrible little
Or a dirty poncho.
yeah, Sloane's terrible little
to.
like disguise. I looked right at that and thought, is that Sloane? Nah, can't be. And just moved
It
on.
ain't terrible. It got me there.
Did work. It was funny
Uh,
because he
But
comes up to me and is like, "Hey, do you have like something I can throw over?" I'm like, "Yeah, here's a cloak. Good luck." And then I look around and it's like, "Where'd Sloan go? Oh, there he is walking down. He almost blends in."
well, it got him past me at least, so
that's another interesting take on it because Rain Cloud as well as Sloan, coming from a living history background, we have certain clothing that we wear ordinarily. Like I have
Yeah.
my Recklin look. Sloan has his look, and but also coming from Riley's is that you start to realize that you see people within the context of their clothing. So when people get used to you, they're used to this is my face and this is what I wear. So when
Mhm.
you exchange the face to another set of clothing, whether it's a t-shirt and jeans or a different type of uniform altogether, they don't recognize you because you're so used to that sort of thing. And so I personally have trained myself to focus on people's faces because what they
Yes.
wear will change. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised by that because I don't wear the same clothes every day. I shouldn't expect other people to wear the exact same clothes every single time.
you guys don't wear
So
your GCW clothes every day?
Mhm.
I've been wearing the same pants since Echoes off.
That is
um,
unfathomably
I
based.
I can't. Hmm.
I'm
To
kidding.
each their own.
I have two pairs of. I actually have like 4 pairs of Rebel pants I swap between. Thank you very much. I have no.
yeah,
Sorry to
so
interrupt.
that no, but it's fine because sometimes when you see people out of their context, they're just
Mhm.
like, I don't recognize you with your clothes on, and it's like, please don't say that.
I know,
Hey,
right?
you don't please say that. Don't say that.
Context,
Never say that.
context.
Never,
I've
never
had
say
that
that again.
exact. conversation.
Oh man.
You know what I'm talking about.
I did just
Oh,
get
yeah.
a text message to harken back. Jesse Taylor wanted me to know that he did proceed with the trial by combat. He did not tell me if he won or not. So maybe
Open for interpretation.
maybe that alone is the answer we're looking for. That he's not willing to
I
say
think
on
so.
stream. But yeah, clothing.
One thing,
So good.
one thing I wanted to discuss, since we have three guys who've done living history, um, how do you get into that immersive mindset when you come into an event like this?
Yeah.
Because that's something that I do instinctually, and I do it a lot for historical stuff myself. What about you guys? Coming into like a GCW or a living history, what type of things you do? How do you get into that immersion?
Oh boy, that's a good question, but one I haven't thought about in a very long time. Um, After 5 years of doing it,
Mhm.
it's just slipped right in. Um, on the way to Echo's Resolve, when we were about 2 hours out from the field, was when my mother decided she wanted to do a British accent. So I think I put a video somewhere. There was the last 2 hours of the drive up there, we were talking back and forth in character in British accents. So
That's
if you don't
awesome.
mind looking like a little bit of a psychopath, I guess that's a pretty good way to get into character and get
Yeah.
into the headspace. And then once you're there in that environment and all the costumes start showing up, dude, just start going for it. I mean, like you said, it's often not until later in these events that people start slowly getting comfortable and slipping into character. The important thing for everyone to remember, and I say this as nicely as possible, we don't care about you. And I mean that in the sense that if you're being weird or embarrassing, none of us are going to remember that. We're all too worried
Yeah.
about ourselves being weird and embarrassing. So don't be afraid to just go for it. Just slip into
Yeah.
character, just start. Even if you feel like maybe not everyone else is quite in full character yet, just go for it, man, and
Yeah.
be the start that charge. Get people slipping into that character. And for the love of all that is holy, don't be afraid to do an accent. It's going to be terrible at first. I've had several people already say, "Oh, I want to do an accent, but I'm not good at it." Neither was I. My accent was terrible for the first very long time I work criticizing your accent out loud or even quietly to myself. I don't care. Just you got to start somewhere, and everyone's been there. And yeah,
Yeah, and that is your accent too. And it's like, well, it's not quite a whatever. It's like, well, I'm not from there. I'm from
Yeah.
north of there. So you always have that
exactly.
excuse of this is my experience. This is
Mhm.
how I do myself.
A bad
For
Scottish
me,
accent is just a really good Dantooine accent.
yeah,
Scotland
There you
doesn't
go.
exist in Star
yep,
Wars, but what the way I'm talking sure does. So
sure.
Apparently Boston does though with that one battle droid with the Boston accent. I think about him a lot.
it's very strange. Just don't be
For me,
intimidated.
I try to get into it for a number of different things. I try to develop like my facial hair to be a little bit not quite how I normally look. I wear clothes that are different than what I normally wear, so I have like a certain set of clothing that I wear for it that kind of like that. I wear toe socks for my character, and that's a different feel because if you're just
Yep.
wearing a regular like tube sock, your feet feel different. And then when you wear like a toe sock, each individual toe is wrapped, and so it's a different feel. Like a shirt, I usually will wear like a linen shirt for my character. It's a different feel than just a t-shirt cotton material. So um, just what actually is closest to me helps put me into that mindset. I start listening to a lot more like Star Wars ambiance or
Mhm.
some music like the Galaxy's Edge music, just to kind of groove along to that. I also have created for myself like a book on tape of Hati's phrases that I have put on a flash drive that I put in my car, and so it'll go through the different phrases, and I re say it back to myself just to how to get back into that because my character speaks Huttese. So, I'm still kind of learning that language, and I can remember that this is what my character will slip into from time to time. So I do different things to try to get myself into that mind space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Don't mind me just writing down the Huttese book on tape idea. That's really
If you want files, I can send you those files.
Yeah, you do have a
please, yes.
shoot, what was it? A PowerPoint on learning the basics of Huttese, so that'd be
You
interesting.
can send that too.
What about you, Husky?
I actually have a like character playlist on Spotify full of very curated songs that kind of help me get in that headspace of I'm no longer John Fields. I am now John Husky, who is, part of this rebellion. These are his beliefs. This is how he feels about things. And that music really helps. But also, I know we talked about it. Sorry, I smacked my mic. I know I've talked about it when I had Liana and Recklin on for an episode on roleplay. Having a, like Recklin just said, he has his toe socks. For me, it's kind of my Pathfinder helmet. Once that is on my head, I know it's go time, and now I take it off a lot because I hate wearing stuff on my head. But putting it on that first time on what would be Saturday morning is a very like physical flipping a switch of it is go. So that stuff's always helped me. But the facial hair, every rebel has to have some form of sideburns, or we kick you out of the faction. So going forward, I'll be having like inspections where you gotta have a mustache and sideburns. So be ready for that.
No one has the beard like Husky. That's just
you can do
I've
full
got a
beard.
whole
I've seen
I've got a
pictures
whole
without the
wall of
beard, it just
pictures
doesn't
of
work.
his beard.
If
Yeah,
you pull up a
it's
picture of
fantastic.
me from Battlefront Bolivar, you actually get banned from the event. So be warned. Be warned about doing that. So, but that helps
Okay.
me get into character a lot. So, and it also helps that here's a pro tip: your character doesn't have to be too far off from who you are as a person.
No.
If you just want to
That's a fair
play,
point.
like if you just want to play Joe Smith but in Star Wars, you can do that so long as you're playing it in Star Wars. Like you can be you, but what if I was me but born in Star Wars? That's totally fine. None of us are really gonna know. As
I always say that your character will always have a part of you in them. It's the same thing
Yeah.
I tell my D&D players. Like, hey, every character you make will have some of you in there. Like, you can never fully remove yourself from your character, and you shouldn't be able to, because then it's no longer,
yeah,
you're not that character anymore.
very true.
By the same token, I have characters that I get into a headspace where I specifically am not me. Like
Yeah.
I specifically
Yes.
try to be intentionally not how I would reach this circumstance or how I would react to this situation because I'm in that headspace. Like I'm wearing a mask or I'm wearing something that's too tight or I'm wearing something that kind of causes me to be in a different place that doesn't let me choose what I would normally do. So it can also work in the opposite direction. So that you can,
Yes.
it'll still always be me. It'll still always be my decisions, but it also helps me kind of, I guess, method act into getting into I think different than how how I normally think.
Mhm.
Yeah. That is also a ton of fun to play an
Yeah.
opposite of you type of character.
That's why I love
For
playing
me,
the Empire. Because, I'm
Yeah.
naturally so handsome and charming and funny and likable and friendly and approachable
And humble.
and humble.
Super humble.
Some people might say I'm a little too charitable, a little
soft-spoken.
too humble. So having to go from that to playing Johann Fowler, the kind of tough, very cold-hearted Imperials, is really hard for me because I'm naturally so loved and like popular and cool that doing something so different is just but it's a fun challenge and I love doing it and don't tell anybody I say this, but I kind of like role playing my Imperial character a lot more because it's so different. It's first of all, being an Imperial is so much fun. If you're opposed to it
is.
because I don't want to be the bad guy, brother, you're missing out on a whole world of like just the most fun you'll ever have. So, be willing to be open to it's kind of like two sides of the same thing where one, you can play yourself and that's fine, but also like be willing to explore a part of you that isn't something you're used to. Get out of your comfort zone and play something so different, and you might find yourself loving it.
And the
Yeah.
nice thing about that also is that not everyone knows who you are,
Yeah.
so they don't know that, oh, this is how he normally acts. So you have a little bit more freedom to kind of explore part of your personality that you normally wouldn't have dealt with with people you work with at work or people you have in a different social setting. So you can also kind of edit yourself into a better version
Yeah,
that you kind of want to be.
Yeah, you can
that's
make
how I started
everybody
out.
believe that you have a British accent, and then I show up to Texas and you have an Australian accent, and I'm really confused.
I legitimately thought Sloan was British when I first met him. So
On the same note as what. Oh, sorry, we lagged and I didn't realize. I have no idea what Husky just
don't
said.
even worry about it. I didn't say anything important.
That's
It's a tough day. It's a tough day.
it is.
Yeah.
On the same note as what Husky was saying, with joining the Empire, I have tried to play the main character before, and let me tell you, it is not nearly as fun
Yeah.
as being the villain in somebody else's story. I
Oh, yeah.
live to be the bane of Liana's existence. It is my favorite thing to do. And now the clan Nox as well. It is so
Yeah,
much
about
fun
to say
to
you have a
be the
new
villain in
nemesis.
someone else. Yeah,
Listen, that
when
clip
you
of him
set
like quick
aside-
drawing you, beautiful.
it was so good. He could not do that again if he tried a million times. That was a 1 in a million shot. I'm gonna paint like a blaster
Yeah.
mark on my helmet
Just like
above
some
my left
carbon
eye now, 'cause
scoring.
that was-
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
carbon
that'd be
scoring.
great.
Maybe I'll see if I can do like a scar on my forehead or something where
Tell
it
you
like
what,
grazes me. I
you
don't
should
know.
have come to Rebel
Maybe-
ScumCon because he was also there. You could have.
I'm sorry, I
Could've
was busy
exacted
that
some
weekend.
revenge.
I know. Don't worry. That's coming at Planetary Garrison Boulevard. We'll be having some
Planetary
revenge.
Garrison Boulevard.
You mean Rhaegar?
He's
Rhaegar.
he's a whole new event. The
Hit in
lag.
the head. I'm having a little bit of difficulty remembering things after the head trauma.
No, I will
That's
say
okay.
every event I have or every episode I have to point out the upcoming events. If you aren't aware, we have Battlefront Mouston coming up first. That will be October 11th and 12th in Mouston, Action Sports, Wisconsin. A lot of cool new things coming. Following up 2 weeks later, November 1st, is a one-day event, Planetary Garrison Rhaegar. Sloan's Revenge is what we're calling it. It's like a subtitle. So you have Planetary Garrison Rhaegar, Sloan's Revenge. So you definitely don't want to
Sloane
miss
Strikes
that.
Back.
Sloan Strikes Back.
The
Hey,
slow-
on that note, when are we getting the
Sloaning.
return of Diggory Sky, huh?
Somehow Diggory Sky.
Somehow Diggory.
Ancient Sith techniques in cloning.
Yeah, can we have a reviving Diggory Sky subplot that goes on at Mouston?
Oh,
That'd be
dude, you
really
just
cool.
leaked the next Veil's Edge plot. Dang. It's all about bringing back.
Sometimes when you guys don't tell me things, like the fact that I'm gonna be a surprise guest.
I like to. That was a surprise too.
It was a surprise for me.
Yeah.
Surprises all around, everyone.
Yes. But then
That's why
following
don't
up,
we did-
I have to announce the next event after. It is technically it will probably be Flames of Rebellion 2 in Florida, which will be January, February. However, not officially announced. And then not officially announced as well will be Nox Prime 2, a Planetary Garrison event, 2 days in Knoxville, Tennessee. Again, not yet announced, but officially announced, which you all really are waiting for, wanting to know, is the next mainline LARP event is Galactic Civil War Veil's Edge. That's April 10th through the 12th. Game starts on the 10th, Friday at noon. This is our first
10.
3-day at 10.
Friday at 10.
So 10 at 10.
Yep.
Our first 50-hour event, 3-day event. A lot of cool stuff. A lot of it'll be a whole new ball game. One of our sponsors, Hefe, will be manning a technician shop. So if you need blaster work done or cool upgrades, you can get that done at the event, amongst a whole bunch of other cool stuff. So, those.
While we're talking about Veil's Edge, I want
Yes.
to ask the other historical people in here, and I'll ask you as well, Husky.
Yeah.
What is the longest running event that you have been? with 24-hour where you've gone and camped out, or have you done that kind of stuff before?
Yes.
Does military count? Does that count? I was
Yeah, I think that counts. I think.
Yes. I did an annual event for many years with my Civil War group out at a place called Calico Ghost Town. It would take place President's Day weekend in February, and so it would be Friday, Saturday, and that Monday, since most people had that day off. So it would be a three full day event. So that's probably the longest event that I have participated
I spent a month in Texas at Fort Hood, playing as the Op 4 for a National Guard Cav Scout unit,
My condolences.
and we
Yeah, I was
yeah. First off, Fort Hood sucks. Texas in July sucks, and that Cav Scout unit sucked. So we were literally in a Humvee with a 50 doing a circle around their Bradley. Just lighting the dude was turned out of the gun, just like had his hands in the air because he couldn't they couldn't turn their gun fast enough to get us, I guess. So does that count as me
That is
as
awesome.
Op 4?
that counts.
I'd
That
say
counts.
that definitely counts.
That
That
definitely
definitely counts.
Other than that, it'd be
Yeah,
GCW.
longest-
Better than anything I've got.
Longest I've ever done was a 48 reenactment at Huntington Beach, California, and I say reenactment very loosely. It's more of like a dress up in costumes in the park and let tourists come ooh and ah at you for a little bit, and then like one little skirmish. So it was fun, but yeah, that's definitely the longest I've been out doing anything like this. So I am really hoping I can make it to Vale's Edge because that would be so cool.
You better.
I'm gonna sleep in a ditch somewhere. No
Action
one can stop
sports is so
That's the
good.
best part. So we've all done the overnight stuff a little bit. My favorites are always the 24-hour nonstop reenactments where we dig a foxhole and we sleep in it overnight. I mean, that stuff is just the best.
Yeah.
There comes a point where the immersion level is so high because you're tired and you're like, oh my goodness, do I have to go on this again? I have to go on another patrol. Are you kidding me? And you're like, now I feel like everybody else.
Yeah, and it's also a different thing because I think what's great about this is that you can kind of pick and choose what your experience is going to be. I think a number of us have slept in a wet blanket in a ditch, uh, and some of us have slept in cots and in barracks. And the nice thing about um, Vest, the name of the town where Action Sports Wisconsin takes place, is that especially if we're talking about people who are going to be interested in just being civilian, we have connexes
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
you can
Yep.
that you basically can rent for credits, and you can basically turn it into your home for the weekend. And so if you've got a cot and you've got some things to kind of make things a little bit more homely, you can definitely lean into that. I did
We
that
encourage
at the
that.
last Austin event, and it just kind of really kind of sold the whole thing to me because I was living in this little, Connex hovel, and I had a commute that was 20 minutes a day to get into the shops, and I got my food at the cantina, and it really kind of made the event a lot more interesting because compare that to going to your modern Coleman tent, a ways away. So some people, they want that experience. Some
Yeah.
people, they want to stay in the Connex. Some people are going to stay at what was it, the Castle Rock, down the
Yeah,
road a
right
bit.
next
Some
door. Yeah.
people are going to be sleeping in their in the rebel camp or in the imperial camp. So it's going to be especially see, you have that option to have something that's a little bit more um, homely that you can kind of make your own, and that would make great excuse for it to become that more level of immersion because it's not just an empty Connex with a bunch of 8mm BBs lying all over the place and broken materials and set dressing stuff. It actually is a place where you live, and it becomes a little bit more a part of you. It becomes an extension of yourself as well.
Mhm.
So that's a very interesting aspect. That one of the reasons I really like going back up to Action Sports Wisconsin is that you can do that, whereas you really can't do that at Bolivar.
Yeah.
it's really kind of a pallet town.
Yeah,
And
those
it's not
buildings are a
even
little
full
too
of pallets,
shanty.
and it's too shanty.
Well,
Can't
I
really be out
will.
there after
Uh,
dark either,
I,
so
I
you can't
will.
actually camp out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would.
Rhaegor.
Yeah.
Rhaegor, on the other hand, we had the CQB, and and it was actually very nice.
First come, first serve.
It already
Limited
kind of set
space.
it basically set itself up as a small town already.
Yeah.
So that was a great aspect that I got to participate in.
I will say two things
But
on that.
yeah,
For the connexes, most of them don't have doors or
Nope.
anything. So what I would recommend is magnets and curtains to bring up to give yourself a little door.
Yep.
Some of them will have windows cut out. You can leave that open if you want. If you want to bring again more magnets and like mesh netting to keep bugs out, feel free. I would also warn that like we don't now have anything in place for like, hey, private property keep out. So make sure you're kind of packing your stuff away in the day because there's always the chance that unless you are sitting there all the time 24/7, someone will come walking through your connex. Now, you could put a sign up that
Yep.
says like private property so and so's residence. I would put it in English because not all of us can read Arabish.
Last time we did, we kind of kept a tally of who was living where.
Yeah.
That was something Liana did because she was renting out some of them
Yep.
to help
So
keep track of
that
stuff.
that'd be my recommendation is the magnets, curtains, and a sign saying private residence of so and so. And the second one would be one thing that I saw that a group, I think it was like Outer Rim Sabacc League does, where every time they set up somewhere, they just like throw burlap tarps over top to make like a little
Yep.
tarp over top, and it elevates the swarziness of the area tenfold. So some of these
Mm.
buildings may be open topped. So invest in maybe looking up some burlap tarps. Just throw over top of one of these like little shanty pallet buildings. And hey, now you've given yourself kind of a roof. It's still not enclosed. Some of them are pretty decent. You can throw a cot down. So just things to consider like that is, we always encourage people bring what you want to bring, and we will make the space to accompany that. And in this case, it's if you want to make a house out of a hobble, we want you to do that. We would love to see that.
But-
another thing to be aware of is that depending on how that's going to work, you may also have to have your eye protection on.
Yeah, to all the time.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
All the time, because that would be on the active field. And if we're
Yeah.
going to be doing night events, you will have to have that eye pro on. So that's something that you also have to kind of be aware. So invest in comfortable eye protection.
Yeah, don't get full big goggles because they'll get tiresome to wear. Find yourself some very like low profile but still full seal with a strap eye pro that you can like wear and not even feel like you're wearing. You'll be asleep, so fog doesn't matter. But so if
Do
you're
not go cheap on the iPro.
yeah, never
No,
iPro is one of
yeah,
those things you should always break out a little bit of extra
yeah,
money.
Yeah.
never cheap out on iPro.
Yeah.
So
And I would say also have two different kinds of eye pro, because you get to a certain point where it starts to get kind of restricting. So at a moment, like if you've got like the big like snow goggle type ones, and you can
Mhm.
also have like the smaller ones. At an appropriate moment, you can switch them out, and it changes how you view. It changes how it feels. So it gives you a little bit more relief, I think. So
yeah,
of course, doing it safely, but rather than having the same old pressure on the same places, then having a second kind of eye pro that you can switch out would also be a great idea, because then it relieves different areas of your face from
yeah, I think that's good
that
advice.
restricting feeling.
Yeah.
No, we will
That's advice
never
from being out there
yeah
for a
and-
long
and
time.
wearing it
That's
for
the stuff you learn.
wearing it for 50 hours
Your
straight, you're
nose.
gonna want some relief. So different.
Yeah.
I think that's very good advice, actually. But something to note is we will never require Swarzy eye pro. We only require it be
Yeah.
full seal and have like a retention strap. However, that being said, I do think it would be cool to have like a master list of all like these Swarzy looking eye pros, because there are a couple. I know the Mud Trooper goggles you can find on Amazon, and they are Z95 plus rated. If you look in like vintage motorcycle goggles, they'll come up.
Yeah.
Because there are like a lot of characters in Star Wars that wear goggles and all kinds of things. So that's something we should look into doing, is making that like Swarzy eye pro list, so that way when the fighting dies down, you still have to keep it on, but maybe you can swap into some of the that's when you swap your eye pro from like your combat eye pro to your I have a little less vision, but I look a lot cooler, iPro. So something to consider. I do
No,
think
no Star Wars costumes limit your vision. You have perfect vision all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I ask our Imperials that wear helmets, how much they can see. Those
It's perfect.
Again,
20/20 vision.
yeah.
The best vision is the default stormtrooper helmet. Those are
Yes.
fantastic.
Yeah,
to see
so
through.
please go ahead and do that. But we are at like 2 hours now, so we need
Oh
to
man, I got so much more stuff we could talk about.
I know, I do too, but at the same time, I want to go eat dinner and get ready for bed. This is a topic that
Like, oh man,
we
I
will
can go
talk
for
about
a while.
more. We'll probably have a part 3 on this. Is part 2 of roleplay. I'll probably have a part 3 either next week or soon coming with Liana and Arthur
Party.
and
Yeah.
Gadge and maybe Oba as well. She volunteered, so we could talk about roleplay all day. Closing statements. Is there anything I forgot to cover, Chris, since you're sitting in the audience? Is there any questions in the YouTube chat I might have skipped over? While I'm looking, if you guys have any closing remarks, please feel free.
Apparently, I look like an NCR officer. I don't know what
I
that
saw
is,
that
but...
from the New California Republic from Fallout, because you're wearing a red beret.
Oh, Fallout.
Fallout
the red
Fallout
beret, my
fans will see
maroon.
a red beret and get excited. But Fallout is
It's
dumb.
maroon, technically.
Yeah,
Airborne.
Fallout is dumb. We don't like Fallout.
I thought I was the pretentious one here, though. It's maroon. I'm wearing.
uncultured swine.
You are so wise.
Yeah.
It's part of being Canadian.
I-
We like to poke fun at the rest of them.
Yeah.
Wait, you're Canadian?
My unit is.
Oh, okay. I was gonna be like, I gotta go. I can't.
Can't hang out here anymore. That's Canadian.
That was the great thing about when doing the French-born Legion group is that we were the best of all the worlds because our kind of catchphrase is we don't like them either. We don't
Yeah.
like French. We're like, well, you guys are all French. Like, actually, none of us are here at French. By law, none of us are French.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you're not French.
That guy's
That's the
British.
point.
That guy over there is, Hungarian. That guy over there is White Russian.
That
and
guy's from
so
Guam.
we're all wearing like it's just, like we
Yeah.
don't like those guys either. But you also had that culture of like, ugh.
Mhm. We did get a question in the
So
chat.
it was fun. It was a fun impression to have because it was just a patchwork of stuff, and it just
Right.
I miss it, but
We did get a question
mean,
in
not,
chat.
not everything lasts
It's
forever. Not every
pretty-
impression
yeah.
lasts.
Is sleeping on the field happening at the 3-day event? Yes, that is the benefit of Action Sports Wisconsin, is that the terrain is flat, and so there is sleeping. Is Sloan is promoted to Grand Moff at the next event? No, he's actually being executed by firing squad. And also, bonus credits.
Actually, we're getting to the point where the Baxter sector will need a new Moff here soon. So actually, Sloan, you available?
Well, hey, Justin might have a kid here soon, so he might have to like take an event off. So we can promote Kyrell to Grand Moff, and then Jesse becomes and then we'll figure it out later. Why am I cutting out now?
Gets bumped up a
One more here.
do it.
Okay, so the
I wanna hear it.
Sloan getting drunk thing was semi-planned, and I say semi. Okay, so here's what was going on. When we did Rhaegor, we had an instance where a town was getting overrun, and none of the Imperials were there except for me and Betty, and it was just a whole bunch of unaffiliated who were working with the Imperials. So I just started shouting orders. Like, I took charge of the defense of that area and just started screaming orders, despite the fact that I am a droid technician
I remember
and
that.
not anybody important.
I remember this.
And that kind of carried over to Echo's Resolve, and I'm doing the British accent, the prim and proper, snobby Imperial archetype. I had people coming up to me and asking me things that should have been going to Justin, for sure. I had people coming over and being like, "What are our orders?" And I'm like, "I'm a droid technician. Go get a hold of Justin. Do not ask me for orders." So when we got to that midday of Echo's Resolve, and we started going over the Hutt Village, I had in the back of my mind, like, I need to bring myself down a notch. I need to do something. I'm going to need to do something that's going to assassinate Sloane's reputation a little bit, so that people will not take me as seriously as they are. So when Ronan handed me this drink and was like, overplay its potency, I was like, we have the opportunity. I'm going to absolutely drive my own reputation into the ground
You
here so
did a
that people stop
phenomenal
asking me
job.
for orders.
I tell you what though, Sloaney, if you
That's a
can make
real
it to
thing.
Vale's Edge,
Don't call me that.
one
Don't call
one
me
thing Justin does reward within promotions and the organization is reoccurring players that show loyalty. So this Vale's Edge would be your third event Empire, correct?
Yeah.
I think by that point you're looking at, you've shown up, you've shown out, you've proven yourself. I'm not him, so I can't say, but I do know he rewards loyalty, and that's why.
that. Don't make promises you can't keep, but
He'll
if
make
it,
Well,
if
I
it
also
happens,
can call him on
great.
the phone right now and tell him that I think he should promote you, and I'll, take him out to dinner or something.
I'll
If
just
he
I'll sit here like this. Just
Hey, if it shows up on the podcast,
He has to do
we're
it,
going to
right?
expect it.
Yeah, let's
Yeah, yeah.
if I say it here, then it has to happen. So, monthly GCW events, expect those. They're all a week long.
24/7
24/7
GCW field, dream
GCW.
big.
Chris is gonna pay us all a salary to come LARP Star Wars. It's in credits, but
Return
still,
of Diggory Sky.
yeah. Diggory Sky's returning. He's leading the cult of Malgan. Recklin's actually a Sith Lord all along. That's where the story's going. What else?
That's right, the Imperial recruitment bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Someone
it's in
just
the
mentioned
chat,
that in chat.
So first off,
Yeah,
the first
I'm
100
getting rich.
tickets.
I'm bringing like 4 Imperials.
Jesus Lord, that's oh my God. Can
Sorry.
can I borrow a couple credits? I'm broke.
No, you dirty rebel scum.
Your loyalty to Betty. Okay, I gotta get this out. I gotta get this out. Let me get this out, please. Let me promote the event. Bonus credits with the first 100 tickets purchased. Buy. Being the first 100, that early bird bonus. Listen, it's really useful. Even if it's your first event, having those extra credits is going to really help you out when you get there and look at like all the cool stuff you can buy. And as well, the Imperial recruitment bonus. New Imperials get a credit bonus, and anyone that recommends, like almost like a referral bonus. Sloan, he says, "Hey, I referred these 2 players, and they went Imperial." Sloan gets a little kickback as well. So, it pays to be an Imperial. I'll tell you right now, Rebels, we don't get paid. If you ask Ben for a couple credits, he might like drop kick you. You should be doing it for the love of the game, not for credits. Do it to make Mon Mothma proud, not to get paid. All right. We are at 2 hours and 4 minutes. You guys are playing charades. This
No, absolutely not.
this
We are well
episode
behaved.
could very likely go on for another hour, but we have to.
It could.
Easily.
It really
If-
could.
if
We
I-
could go on about historical and NPC and story and characters for hours.
If I didn't work tomorrow, I would so be down to like completely pivot off GCW and just talk to you guys about your reenactment histories, because I would love to know more about that.
Oh, that's easy to talk about.
It's always
love
something
telling
I've
stories.
wanted to do. I've always, if I didn't already have like GCW and medieval LARP and airsoft and those other things as hobbies, I would totally love to put myself a little Civil War kit together or something like that. But
I love the pose. He had the very Napoleon sort of chest out for us.
yeah, maybe I'll just be Napoleon. I can do a better job than Joaquin Phoenix.
Star Wars Napoleon.
Yeah.
Oh, don't get me started on that movie. No, don't mention that
I
movie.
knew bringing it up would have a reaction from one of you.
Sloan got to it before
Biggest
me.
fans in today's day and age, and that movie made me so mad.
Yeah, it was no
Yep.
bueno. All right, I think I have to quit delaying and quit stalling. I have to wrap this up. This has been a really good episode, a lot of fun.
I do want to point out that you did share the picture of me in the
did.
blue chair.
Here, I'm
And
gonna
the
hit a
podcast
button and
chat.
it's gonna pop on screen in like the top
Oh,
left corner on
no.
YouTube for like half a second. Ready? Boom. Oh, actually, I need to hold on. I need to bring this photo up. You are wearing a satchel, a little
I am.
satchel.
It's my gas mask bag from.
I
my World War
have
II
that
uniform.
exact same bag that I use in my
I
Rebel
use it.
kit.
Yep.
That blew my mind to
Yeah.
see that because I didn't know what that bag was. A friend just like gave it to me. He's like, "Here's this old bag I have," and I was like, "Oh, cool! So it worked for like a rebel bag." So I put the little Pathfinder like pause symbol on it.
Yep.
Um, I did not know it was a
That's my
gas mask
spare one.
bag.
Yep.
That's
Yeah. It's actually I wear it on my back. That's my spare one that I use as just like a general. I carry some extra water bottles in there or extra
I have it over
tennis
here.
balls or stuff.
I did not. I use it as
So
like
I
a
have 2 of
dump
them.
pouch or grenade pouch. So
Yep.
I don't know. I just
Yep.
redid a lot of the. I don't know where all my stuff is. I would pull it up, but anyway. All right, for realsies this time. It's been 2 hours and 7 minutes. This has been a good episode. Thank you all, 3 of you. This has been incredibly insightful, and I'm sure you will all be back. Raincloud, if you're on here for a 5th episode, you will have been on more episodes than Mark, and I'm just gonna make you a co-host.
I'll be here next week. No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Good to have you a second time. I am looking forward to a 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Same to you, Sloaney. I feel bad.
call
I
me
didn't.
that.
I
Come
feel
on.
bad. I didn't have you on for the Empire episode because I was like, I have Justin. That's the head guy. I have Raincloud. He's always a good one. And I guess I count as an Imperial player because I played as an Imperial. I was like, I need an Imperial player. So if I ever do a Rebel episode, I'll need to make sure I get Ben and a player. Maybe Chem.
Ooh, throw me on the Rebel episode just to see what happens.
Just
I'll do the whole thing in character. I'll
Yeah.
get the costume and everything.
Yeah, you're just there like in the peanut gallery, telling
Just
things.
heckle.
No,
Yeah.
you've got like the mask from like the Lego Star Wars with the nose and the glasses. You're like, I am a rebel, fellow rebels.
There you go. All right, I now have to thank. Listen, guys, when I hit this button, the screen changes. They can't hear you anymore, but I can hear you. So, so
The
don't.
power.
Because in the past, I hit the button and people like want to say more stuff and like give thanks and like, you know, parrot my gratefulness, but they don't get hurt. So I'm warning you now, you'll be wasting your breath. That being
Oh, the story about the
said,
blue-
thank you to our Patreon supporters for making all this possible. Thank you, Big Burst. Thank you, Joseph Jacobson. Thank you, Daniel Corral. Thank you, Craig Larson and John Pierce II. Ken Primavera. Thank you, Odo Tadana. Thank you, Athens Milan. Thank you, Kian Shea. Thank you, Dakota R. Reynolds. Thank you, Siegebreaker94. And last but not least, thank you, Matthew House. This would not be possible without you guys. However, your money does not go to me. It does not go to the podcast. It goes to the event and making this event better. So thank you all so much. Every little improvement is thanks to you. And if you're out there listening, consider joining these group of wonderful people and becoming a Patreon supporter. Galactic Civil War Patreon. Check it out. Thank you to our sponsors. I need to click back to the list of sponsors. Thank you, Skirmish. Thank you, Hefe Airsoft. Thank you, evike.com. Thank you, 850 Armor Works. Thank you, DT Blaster Works and Kitech, our wonderful sponsors. And that is going to do it for us. Good night, and thank you for being you.